Still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications option. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks for...
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe. And it feels alright where the worlds collide. Manipulation stands to make us red. What time you said was coming over you. You wish it upon a star. You wish it on a star. You are, you are, you are. You fight back, it's an all-out attack. It feels like I've been taken on the world's machine. Because I want it more than anyone can dream. You look back and it's all in the past. You tell me how you live by all the things you do. Well, you can be yourself, but maybe I'm not you. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all.
Good evening, welcome along to NUFC Matters. It is the three amigos halfway through your non-football weekend, and it's welcome to George, to Mitch and to Steve, and we'll give you 90 minutes of our banter about Newcastle United and a live show, so get your questions in. I see there's already a few questions come in. Also seen Julie being a bit naughty, asking people to nominate us for this Football Podcast Awards. I'm afraid, like mine and Steve's hero, Bob Dylan, we would be in that position that if we ever got nominated for it, we would refuse it, or maybe even drop it in the bin like people have done with heavyweight belts in the past. It's not for us. We're not interested in stuff like that. Let that go to other podcasts who are craving a little bit of attention, a little bit of reassurance maybe, but that isn't for us. It's not what we want, and we won't be accepting any invitations to go along to award ceremonies where I probably wouldn't want to speak to anybody. So thank you, Jules, but no thanks is the honest answer. That's why I put the post out. Anyway, plenty to talk about since we all last met on here. Jules says you can refuse, but we can still nominate. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Jules. Plenty to talk about. Fixtures have come out, and somebody's already got a question in about fixtures, which is where I was going to start. And it's John Askew. He says, be honest, lads, when the fixtures came out, were there one or two fixtures that you were particularly interested in? Mitch, which fixtures did you go straight for this time round?
Well, as our new hygienist at work is a Mackham, you can guess which were the two fixtures that I was hunted out, simply because she was in the ear. I wanted to know when they were. Other than that, not really. We play everybody twice. Last time I looked, that's the same as every year. I really think we sometimes put too much emphasis on when we play who. It's up to us to make that irrelevant. I was more interested in working out when the Champions League weekends were, or when the Champions League weeks were, just thinking about planning potential trips and when, what flights go where. And I've got one fixture I'll be particularly interested in now, seeing, or at least once the Champions League draws made, based on something I've been doing this weekend. So yeah, I'm trying to ignore so much of the noise at the minute, and some of the reaction to the fixtures was just crazy noise. I don't need it. It's the summer. We should be looking back on one of the best seasons, if not the best season that we've had, and still taking time to enjoy that. And next season will come quickly enough.
Fixtures were out, Steve. Which ones did you look straight for? Is it the obvious ones?
Well, you always look for certain teams, but I'm very much on the same angle as Mitch on that one. The one thing that I find pointless is the fact that you look at all those games and you just think, well, that one's not going to be on that date. That one's not going to be on that date. Yep, we're not playing that Saturday. We're not playing that Sunday, and so on and so forth. So that's the ridiculous side of football, isn't it? Now, I mean, they send out a fixture list. They give us August or September dates for TV, and then after that, they're all going to be changed. We're going to be playing on a Sunday or a Saturday lunchtime for the foreseeable, I would imagine, with being in the Champions League as well, and especially with there being 6 clubs in the Champions League, so there's more fixtures to be moved. I'm always interested because there's so much made over the fixtures, and yet you could probably, within a fortnight or 3 weeks, you could probably pinpoint exactly when you're playing certain clubs. There are certain clubs we always play early on away from home. Certain clubs we always play early on at home. The fixtures barely shuffle. And I suppose I don't necessarily look at the start. I saw a lot of people glancing at the start and saying, "Oh, that's a good start. That's a bad start," so on and so forth. All based on what they saw last season, by the way. Got no foresight in how Bournemouth or Wolverhampton Wanderers or whomever are going to play next season. I tend to go the other way. I tend to look at the last half dozen fixtures and think, right, well, if we're still in the mix for anything, be it league or cup, who are we up against? And apart from that, I look to see who we're playing on my birthday or round about my birthday.
George, what about you?
Well, as you can imagine, somebody with my years of support, there was only one fixture I was ever going to look at to see where it was, because I could, in days gone by, I could have predicted when it was, and that's the 2 derbies. In days gone by, it would either been at Easter or it would have been at Christmas and New Year. It would have been home or away to Sunderland on Good Friday, home or away at Sunderland on Easter Monday, home or away to Sunderland on Christmas Eve, home or away to Sunderland on Boxing Day, which is my birthday. I mean, you could predict them in those days. And then after that, you looked at the other clubs nearby, like Leeds and what have you. And the FA had real sensible people doing the fixtures then, because they tried to minimise the travel at those bad times of the year for obvious reasons, weather and trains and all that sort of thing. Now, the idiots that run it now just seem to put it as difficult as they can. You know, make Newcastle go all the way to Brighton on a Friday night when there's no running, no hotels. You know, just make it difficult as long as it suits the television. So I mean, my first instinct was to look at when we play the Mackhams. Then after that, like Steve, I'm inclined to look at sequences to see, is it a start against all the top teams or all the top teams at the back end? And I tempered me view about that a little bit, because I went back to the Emirates Cup, we beat everybody above with to win the Emirates Cup. We beat the league champions to win the cup. So, you know, bring it on, boys. We're ready for you. We're ready for you. So I'm just looking forward to it. It's starting. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, feels like it's been months since we've had football rather than a couple of weeks. But yeah, the fixtures I was looking for, of course, like most people, the Boxing Day one. I always tend to look for Boxing Day first. Who will play on the opening day? Who will play on the final day? 2 away games, which is rather strange. Boxing Day, of course, New Year's Day, which of course we're playing neither. We're playing days after those big events, and Sunderland, of course. Obviously, want to see when we'll play Sunderland. And as somebody has already mentioned in the chat, the away fixture, it's Dave. He says one of the derbies is the same weekend as the Carabao Cup final, so that will need to be moved as we will be playing, says Dave. So yes, well said, Dave. I have to agree with you on that. Gary says the way I look at it is every fixture is tough. Teams are gunning for us now as we become a big scalp. That's why it's important that we improve the squad in this window. Also on the fixtures that have come out, Denise says, I thought it was a positive start as we play big teams at home. I really don't care. We've got to play everyone, so all the same to me. I'd be more interested in seeing the Champions League fixtures. Neil just reiterating what I've said. Strange this year, we start away and we finish away, normally one or the other, but not both together. If you've got any any stuff to say about the Champions League fixtures or the imminent Champions League fixtures, put them in the chat, and also give us some questions about other things surrounding Newcastle. We are on till 6 o'clock tonight.
If I could just jump onto Gary's optimism about the Carabao Cup, I'll give him mine. The rattle's been painted again.
Oh, well, there we go.
I tell you what, Steve, though, one of the reasons why we're playing away first in the first game of the season is because Sunderland have had to have a home fixture because they've got the Women's World Cup event taking place at the stadium following weekend. So they had to have a home fixture. So we were dragged into that. So I think what's probably happened is they've probably arranged the fixtures the other way, and then suddenly there's been a finger pointed towards that in that direction for the Premier League, and I think had to be a reshuffle there. So that's the reason why we're not playing at home in the first fixture.
Thanks, Steve. Mark says, gutted we're not playing Boxing Day. No excuse to leave the indoors early. And Mackems and Everton away new ground. Yeah, obviously Everton have got to play at the new ground. That's the second fixture of this season. Okay. Next thing I want to mention, really, lads, is, and it's, you know, a few people are a bit disappointed the way that Newcastle have announced the pre-season friendlies. Newcastle have now confirmed we're going to play an additional pre-season friendly at St James's Park against Espanyol. It's a 7:30 kickoff on Friday, August the 8th. Of course, that's the night before the sold-out visit of La Liga side Atletico Madrid to St James's Park. This is the fourth successive season that Eddie Howe's side have concluded their preparations with back-to-back home games. Tickets go on sale 10 o'clock on Tuesday, the 24th, of course. So, thoughts on this, Mitch? Is it really a big deal? I've got to be honest. I used to go to every single friendly, at home. I used to travel to a fair few away. Gone are those days of me going to every friendly now. I do find the home friendlies specifically boring, to say the least. And again, as well, I think a lot of people are in the same mindset who are season ticket holders. It's an opportunity for those who don't get a chance to go. So, and of course for kids to go because of the price. Adult tickets £20, and kids obviously a lot cheaper. But yeah, what was your thought about them announcing it? Why didn't they announce it Friday and Saturday and just allow people to maybe buy two? Or is this another money making scheme? Sell the first one out and then put a second one on the day before. Oh, you're on mute, mate. You're on mute.
You know the button you're pressing here, don't you?
I do, yes, but that's why it's an answer. It's an answer that most people do want to know, I guess. So, what's your feelings on it?
Well, I'm going to say this outright: the replies on social media to the announcements of the fixture of Espanyol, some of those replies were an utter disgrace from a fan base who really show a side of spoiled brat behaviour, and I found it quite baffling, we've got a history of playing back-to-back fixtures. That would tell you somewhere along the line that that's Eddie Howe's preference pre-season, that he likes to mix it up, create a couple of different squads, show opposition down the line very little, but work on things with both games. Yes, the announcement's a little bit strange that it was staggered. However, like you quite rightly say, surely everybody who cries on about I can't get tickets and I can't do that, well, he has a perfect opportunity for you to take some tickets and come and see the team at St James's Park and support them in an important pre-season. Seeing replies on social media whinging about not having signed anybody, whinging about the timing of the announcement, whinging about the back-to-back fixtures, which we've done for the last 3 years, I found quite embarrassing. Yes, the club get loads of things wrong, and you've heard me talk about it probably till I'm blue in the bloody face. But this isn't one that I think that people should be having a go at. We've got an opportunity to sell tickets for pre-season friendly fixtures that are an important part of the build-up to an important campaign. And if you can't be happy to be have the opportunity to be there, don't be so petulant as to have a go at the club 4 days into a window open, saying I haven't signed anybody, and being really wetting the bed. Don't need it. And this is why I've spent a lot of this week trying to avoid the noise. I got rightly wound up by that as well, you know, from a little rant I had on one of the WhatsApp groups. And it I don't know, I just think everybody deserves a bit better than that.
Steve?
It's the way I look at it is it's an opportunity for us to play a relatively decent mid-table La Liga team, well experienced, give us something a different type of opposition as part of our warm-up session. It'll be you could say anything about the fact that we're playing the following day. In latter years, we've played 2 games in 2 days on the Salah Cup. And you could buy a ticket for one, you could buy a ticket for both. You know, it wasn't as though you had to buy a package, so you could pick and choose which ones you wanted to go anyway. So I just view it as yet another opportunity to be at St James's Park to watch a game if you want to see Newcastle United. And you know, people will go, people won't. It's up to them. And I agree with Mitch in terms of it's an opportunity for youngsters to get in, families. It's a nice Friday evening. It's in the middle of the summer holidays. You know, everything ticks a box in that respect. Could they have announced it earlier? Yeah, I'm sure they could have if they'd known about it. Perhaps they weren't aware. Perhaps the I's hadn't been dotted and T's crossed to enable them to do so. So, you know, I got no background information to say anything otherwise. So I'll just make an assumption that the announcement was made when the announcement could be made, and the timing of it. I'll leave it up to the clubs and the supporters trust and the fans advisory board to waffle over it as and when they feel necessary. I'm sure they will.
George,
well, absolutely. And in fact, I'd go the other way and say that we might give the club for actually being a bit savvy to making sure that the important Cellar game was actually sold out before they announced the second game. So the Cellar Cup game wasn't damaged. You know, the real game, if you like, is got a full house. And then let's have the other one as well and give people the opportunity of coming. But you're right. You know, you've all said it. It's the way Eddie Howe's done it in the last 3 years. And there's nothing new about it. Good God, I can remember in the heydays, so-called heydays of the 50s, they used to do it. And if they couldn't get a team to come and play a friendly, sometimes used to haul Gateshead in. But if they couldn't get somebody even like Gateshead in, the manager would mix the whole squad up, and they would get whites against stripes. And the whites was usually the attack of the first team, and the stripes was the defence of the first team playing against each other. And they used to open the gates and make people pay to get in. So, you know, there's nothing new about that at all. So, in terms of the current hoo-ha, I don't see it as an issue for me. And it does give people the opportunity to say they've gone in. But when you go in, you've got to remember that it is a friendly, and so Eddie Howe's going to take that opportunity to play whoever he can. And can I remind you, it's only a short 2 years ago, maybe it's a little bit longer, in a couple of friendlies like these, that a young lad called Miley made his mark. And from that friendly, he's never been out of the first team squad all the time. So you can. They're the pluses. I really can't see negatives in the sense that people are dragging it down. It's just something to complain about for me. And as to going on and on about the not signing anybody, with the absolute rubbish they've done with the transfer windows to try and accommodate this ludicrous World Cup series, Club World Cup. I mean, imagine one of the biggest stadiums in America for one of these games kicked off with zero attendance. Absolutely zero. I mean, really, if that doesn't say something about the miscalculations of UEFA and FIFA in this operation, then they need their head in their hands. So, get your tickets and go and enjoy watching the black and whites is all I'd say to you all. And forget about the white noise that's coming from all sorts of people who should know better, many of them, in my opinion. But it's over the top for me, Steve.
Yeah, I would agree with all of you lads. And again, Mitch avoids social media. That's what I do. I just don't get carried away in all of this rubbish. It's the best policy, sadly. Otherwise, you just get aerated and it just drives you up the wall. So it's probably the best thing to do. Will says, I'm up in the northeast for the weekend of the Cellar Cup. I missed out on tickets for that, so the extra fixture gives me another chance to see a game, and that's the whole point.
Well done.
Chris has come off Twitter and Facebook until August. Doing me head in, you read 99% made up. Horse, and then there's a little brown thing. I'm not sure what that is, Christopher, but yeah, I get your point. Window's only been open a week. I watched Ben Jerkis on the show and he summed it up perfectly. Yeah, I thought Ben gave a good show. He's had a lot of stick in the comments, I noticed, but he's really, really done well. I think in what he said, and look, I think we all know Ben's answers are always quite long. He shortened it up quite a bit. And he didn't speculate as much, and I think there was probably only two questions where he gave an answer for this in two different ways so that he couldn't be wrong, because Ben's good at that as well. I don't miss a trick, but he was pretty good. I think he alleviated and squashed a few rumours, and I think he certainly didn't enhance any rumours, and I think he answered his questions well. So give it a watch if you haven't already watched it. Please do. Okay, as it's only a shorter show, as you know, we have a part of the show where people can be easily offended. So if you are easily offended, I would suggest you go and put the kettle on or go and get a drink out of the fridge. It's Tweet of the Week. And we've got another celebrity picture mashup, and it's Apollo Creed. Thank you for that. And another Facebook one, my neck, my back, my pussy, and my crack. Very good. Good song as well. And don't forget, lads, with it being summer, to make time to stop and smell the flowers. Breaking news, the mass panic in Dunfermline this afternoon is over after the leopard that was knocked over and killed on Holbeath Road turned out to be the dressing gown of a young mother going to get fags at the local shop. And my goodness, one little Google search and now all the ads in my feed are for arsenic and cyanide, says the wife to her husband. And a couple of signs, curbside, anal bleaching today only. Somebody having fun with the lettering in that hairdressers. And great cheese available in Scotland, British mid-jour cheddar. This means nothing to me. When a guest has a minor complaint, do not offer to handle it in the parking lot, said this sign in America from the management. And this one on the front door was fantastic. This household charges £10 per minute. Minimum charge 5 minutes to listen to sale pitches and religious messages. The minimum charge is payable in advance. By knocking on this door, you sign your agreement with the terms outlined above. That's excellent, that. And whenever I've been to a funeral, I've only ever gotten a sandwich and a drink, lads. I'm not sure about you. This was in the paper in Surrey. Mona's got for Fanny. And this advert for whiskers. Does your pussy have whiskers? Outside Pet Foods.
Yeah, me.
And the more you look, the funnier it gets, lads.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
me.
Jesus.
Check the registration plate out. Exactly. This is not 129.10. This is not an Airbnb. If you are here for the above, do not ring my bell and F off. I will come out with a baseball bat swinging, no questions asked.
Oh,
Oh, God.
That's somebody who's just had it.
Just had enough, yeah. Best perhaps to keep your sliding door closed for this one.
yeah.
And the side of another van, we repair what your husband fixed. That's pretty good as well in America. This was on the news. Breaking news, woman accidentally joined search party looking for herself. Somebody's quoted this saying, these edibles are weak as 2 hours later. And this sign, I love these car signs. New park, like shit. Were you drunk? P.S. I rubbed my nuts on your door handles. Moving on to science fiction, we have some Star Wars ones. Where are we? I think we're an island, says R2D2. 1 week later. And Carl, I tried Wookiee meat. Dad, stop. It was chewy, Carl. And Ancestry.com, R2D2's checking it out. 23% toaster, 18% camcorder, 26% trash can, 4% hubcap, 3% laser pointer, and 12% Duracell battery. How about that? This is brilliant, this. I want to be this drunk. Where are you? I left early. Sorry I couldn't stay longer. What? Where are you going? Well, I'm going home. Are you kidding me? Come back, you're drunk. Don't worry, I called an Uber. We drank at your place. Oh, where am I going? This one's for the singers out there. I'm learning to fly, but I ain't got wings. The Tom Petty classic. And this one's probably a bit more known. Against All Dogs. Take a look at me now.
Oh, God.
And take it with a pinch of salt. The old boss always used to say he was a lovely man, but he made horrible tea. And I've been sent a few of these. I do like this. I wonder. Crap. Why do I feel like crap? There is a message in there for people out there, so take that into consideration if you're feeling crap, of course. When selfies go wrong.
Oh, dear.
And Ladybird book, Ladybird story. Left-handed Barbara has crabs. And he joined a nudist colony. The first few days were the hardest.
Oh,
Jesus.
My girlfriend set fire to all of her outstanding bills. What is her name again? Bernadette.
oh God.
And I want to get circumcised, says Captain Kirk. Don't you think you're too old, says Bones. What's the cut-off date?
Oh,
Been sent quite a few jokes over the last few weeks. The next time you dislike your life, remember it's all about perspective. I've got a friend who reads 2 to 3 books a week, works out twice a day, has no financial worries, and has people who want to have sex with him all the time. Yet he constantly complains about how much he hates prison. And there's a busker playing ABBA really loudly in the town centre. You can hear the drums from Nando's. And I watched a documentary on marijuana last night. That's probably how I'll watch all documentaries from now on. And on average, British men will have sex 2 to 3 times a week, whereas a Japanese man will only have sex once or twice a year. This is deeply distressing and upsetting news to me, as I had no idea I was Japanese. And my mate has a new job in Seoul. Hope it's a good career move.
Oh,
And my favourite teacher back in school was Mrs. Turtle. Funny name, but she taught us well.
Oh,
no.
And if you wear a falconry glove to the park and frantically go around the sky, everyone with a small dog will leave. Good advice from Andrew there. And speaking of dogs, there's a hunting dog for sale, lads.
Look at that.
And after going to a party last week where I was served a vegan 3-course meal, I decided to try some at home myself.
Oh,
And the final one this week is this: for the girl who enjoys a big one.
That's a big one.
That's a big one. If you've got any tweets, don't send them in a minute. I've got too many, and Jimmy Wilson is itching to send us a few over. I'll let you all know when I need a few more to reimburse the inbox. Okay, Gary Hall says, quality t-shirt, Mr. Wraith. I can't think of 3 bigger performances than Draper, Shaw and Schneider in one movie. Yes, it was the 50th anniversary yesterday, Gary, of the greatest film of all time, Jaws. So, in my opinion, anyway. What's the questions that we're going to take next? Christopher says, question, are we going to have a break? Are we going to have to break our wage structure, in the Amigos' opinion, to keep Alexander Isak? Surely we can't value him at 150, 200 million and not pay him as much as the other clubs would be willing. In your opinion, Mitch, do you think Newcastle will, first of all, announce a new contract for Isak? Bear in mind, he's still got 3 and a bit years to go. Or do you think they'll hang fire for another season, see what they can get out of him, see how it goes, and then whatever? But how are you feeling about the Isak situation? I'm not too fussed. I don't think he's going anywhere, and I don't think there's a rush to get him tied down.
I'm irritated by, once again, client journalism, agendas being given by certain parts of the media, openly trying to sell our players, not just Isak, openly trying to unsettle and disturb. We've got a number of regional publications, all owned by Rich PLC, who also own the Chronicle. As part of that, nationwide, and some real utter bullshit being spread, ill-informed, and half-truths, and some of it just made up. It is inevitable that we will need to sit down and discuss contracts with Alexander Isak at some stage. This season, I would have thought, will be discussions had of a preliminary nature. But he has 3 years left on his contract. They tend to mean nothing these days, really. They certainly don't seem to mean what they used to. But it also means we're not painted into a corner with the threat of them leaving for naught. So that gives us a strength, position of strength. We do not have to sell anybody. There are still journalists writing to ease their PSR troubles. There are no troubles to ease. So forget that. If the value of Florian Wirtz at what they paid for him, Alexander Isak is currently one of the hottest properties as a striker in Europe. Work out the maths. Surely that Coutinho money cannot stretch that far. And frankly, it's embarrassing, some of the rubbish that's being put. However, because our fan base is jumpy as heck about everything, and we're still waiting for that disaster and everything to go wrong again, we don't have the confidence of a fan base that's used to being on top, that's used to being winners, that's used to dealing with stuff like this and just brushing it off. Ultimately, there's going to come a time where we've got to talk to Alexander Isak about a new contract. And any change in pay structure will begin with him, I would imagine. But then we've got other players who would probably then have their agents knocking on doors. It would take a phenomenal amount of money for us to even think about shifting them on, particularly to another Premiership rival. I don't think there's anybody with the money, if you ask me. I just don't think there's anybody out there who can. There's many who want. In the same way, I'd quite like to get in a bath full of baby oil with Kylie Minogue, but I don't see that happening anytime pretty soon. So, you know, I can write that in the press that, you know, rumour has it that she's had her head turned, but it's pie in the sky. And this is why, again, I've gone, this is the other thing that's had me pretty much trying to just ignore it all. Some of the stuff that so-called journalists are putting out and almost saying as fact is desperate wishful thinking, and it's poor.
Okay, Alexander Isak. It was that's where the question came from, Steve. Do you think Newcastle are looking at, you know, offering him a new contract, and you know, would the wage? They've been very, very careful, the Saudis.
I don't know where this idea of a wage structure comes from, other than, again, the press. And again, it's always talked about in the negative, you know, as though our wage structure is lower than everybody else's. So it's there to be laughed at and ridiculed. The last time I heard conversation about a wage structure was whenever we signed anyone, or the only evidence of that, rather, that I ever had of a wage structure was whenever we signed anyone. And Alan Shearer immediately had to have a pay rise as well, because he had to be the highest paid player at the football club, allegedly. So it was rumoured. So I don't know where it comes from. To be perfectly honest, Alexander Isak is, as Mitch rightly says, the hottest property in Europe, if not the hottest property in the world. He's having a well-deserved break. He'll come back fresh and refreshed, and hopefully come back and be playing for Newcastle United with some other top-class superstars from around the world who want to come and play for Newcastle United alongside him. It would be an awful lot more difficult to sign players if they thought that they weren't going to have Alexander Isak alongside them, or Bruno Guimaraes, or Sandro Tonali. They are the players that are going to attract other players to our football club, and that's part of, I would imagine, the mentality and mindset of Eddie Howe, and hopefully the mindset of whoever else above Eddie Howe is running the football club at the moment. I don't know who is running the football club at the moment, by the way, because we've got a sporting director on what's ostensibly, you know, time added on for good behaviour or injury time. We've got a CEO who's a dead man walking, waiting to be replaced, and we've got a marketing team who, you know, the way I'm looking at it is probably it's the head of marketing who's running the football club rather than anyone else at the moment. So the club appears to be in turmoil, and the more we talk about it, the more the national press will convince us we're in turmoil, and we'll try to sell our players. So I think it's probably a subject that we'll move on from very quickly, and allow us to enjoy the rest of our holidays and look forward to games against Espanyol and whoever else is coming.
George, the Alexander Isak talk has gone into overdrive.
Well, yeah, I mean, and the lad advertises himself very well, doesn't he? He scored some incredible goals, and not least the one he scored in the cup final. I mean, you know, everybody's in awe of what a great defender Mr. Van Dijk is. Well, Alexander Isak made him look like a clown at Wembley. So, yeah, they're going to be talking about him. But as you know, I like to look at the other side of things and just look at the players themselves. And everything you see on social media that's produced by anybody about Alexander Isak, or is produced by Alexander Isak himself, he's a happy lad. And players that are going to go somewhere usually have a chink in their armour, and that chink is they get involved deeply, and they get a bit sullen and they get a bit upset. You know, you look at those club things where they're playing, messing about with training. That's a happy squad. And I don't see Alexander Isak wanting to go anywhere. But yes, of course, we'll be talking to him. I would be amazed if we haven't already had unofficial talks about when we're going to start talks and all that sort of thing. But, you know, all this other stuff in the papers, as Neil and Steve have said, all manufactured for the benefit of the likes of Liverpool and beyond. And even they, I don't think at the moment could afford Alexander Isak, as there are very few people in the Premiership that could. Even Arsenal, who fans seem to think it's just a matter of time before it happens. You better go and have a check at your own PSR situation. Never mind Newcastle United. No, I you know, it's you've just got to get used to it. It's the bit about being a winner that you've got to get used to. Neil said it. We're not used to being winners. Well, we are now, and not only that, we're winning in a very, very particularly nice way. Some of the best football I've seen in the last 70 years in a season that's the best the club's had in its history, in my opinion. So yeah, they're going to be looking well. Have a look. I don't see Alexander Isak going anywhere, and I'd be amazed if the powers that be, whoever they are, haven't at least at some stage given the nod to the fact that they're going to be talking. But they don't need to talk for a while. And when the lad's happy, I mean, I've been watching some of the under 23, 21 championships this week. I don't know if you have, because we've got lots of lads in it. And be honest, they're all doing so well. I'm more worried about who's going to come in for fullback and who's going to come in for Will Sula, who's knocking spots off everybody at the minute. You know, not Alexander Isak. So yeah, there's lots to go on, but I don't see Alex going anywhere. He's ours, and ours he'll stay.
Just to clarify, Steve, deadline work, I meant working 4 months' notice. That's what I'm referring to. Nothing else. Right. Nobody going to imply anything else. Working 4 months' notice. Supposed to be working 12 months' notice. If you're going to leave, why didn't they just replace them straight away? This is why we're now in a situation that we are with Mitchell, wanting to allegedly go in as well. You know, when you have two executives who are leaving at the same time, it's not good business.
No, certainly isn't. Okay, time for the DM. The day I met, where we asked you to send in photographs of you meeting somebody from Newcastle United, past or present. First of all, thanks to Alistair, who bumped into Sir John Hall recently, and he's sent this photograph in. Alistair, of course, big fan of the show. He said John Hall was doing very, very well and was full of chat. I'm sure many of you have had the same experience with Sir John. And the Heed sent this a while back. But he says, submitted by Stuart Pearce. Apparently, he was elated at eventually meeting the Heed and Wings today. That was at the back end of the season. But yeah, good stuff. Thank you for sending them in. Always good to see different people meeting different people from Newcastle United. If you've got one of those, send them in to us, nufcmatterspodcast@8092@gmail.com, and we'll feature it on the show. Lots of people talking about the transfer window, which of course is open properly now. 16th it opened, and we are 5 days in. People already concerned Newcastle haven't gone out and signed this one and that one. But Shooting Boots in the chat says, anyone think we are keeping our June budget for players at clubs in PSR trouble and could become available closer to June 30th? Lots of people wondering whether it's all part of the plan and it's something to do with PSR. I mean, I could read out all of these chats. John says, is it better for us to do deals in July rather than June? I'm easily confused. There's also a question which we could probably tie into this for the lads as well, which was about Man City, really, the Man City case. Sam said, is the secrecy of the Man City case beneficial to City in the transfer market? City briefs will have a good idea of the outcome, which could possibly affect what can and can't be done in the market. So, yeah, I mean, quite a few people getting a bit concerned because we're not going out and splashing the cash immediately. Lots of people chucking around the Eddie Howe quote from the press conference saying he wanted to move quickly, wanted them in before the first day of training, which of course is still a fair few weeks away. But yeah, Mitch, I mean, could it be down to PSR and all of that, the reason we're not acting quickly, or what's your gut instinct on that?
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
And the longer it stays that way, the better for me. Eddie said what he said. Did he say that not knowing that he would have more control by the time came than he had at the time we said it? Don't know. Suspect so. It's again part of this noise. The Man City situation is interesting because one of the main people keeping the world informed with his opinions is Stefan Borson, who is a Man City fan, of course. So he has agenda. He's got skin in the game. And his latest play seems to be a lot of whataboutery. But look at what they did, and look at what they did, and look at what they did. Well, that's fine, but it's all about what you did. It's quite... I've seen it suggested one of the reasons they started putting players on long contracts was with a view to loaning them out if they suffer relegation. So they loan them out, keep them at either other teams within the City group like Girona, so they've got top flight Spanish football to play. That keeps them in prime condition, and then they bring them back once they're in a position to bring them back. That doesn't seem too far-fetched to me. It actually feels quite clever, if you ask me, taking advantage of the multi-club ownership rules. But he seems to have poo-pooed all that, but of course he would. I think the longer it drags on, it just doesn't look good for anybody associated with the Man City case. It's already a farce, really, now. But again, it comes back to how many times the Premier League been embarrassed by an inability to either apply their own rules correctly or proportionately. I think 4 times now. And, working out how many points to deduct somebody for a PSR failure when it seems to be the pivotal issues seem to be, did they admit it and did they give us some nice biscuits with tea when we come to investigate it? It's a bit of a nonsense, but that's on the Premier League. It frustrates us because I'm at the point where part of me would love to see Piff just get the gloves off. And I say, right, sauce for the goose, sauce for the gander, we're going to do this, and this. And have a little bit of that while you're on. But at the same time, I understand the desire to rise above and be seen to be doing it in spite of. But I'm seeing also our fan base pulling things out of the air, like, Piff are getting bored and they're going to sell. Where on earth are you getting that from? Where on earth how do you jump to that conclusion? And again, it's more an application of this seemingly binary world that we're now living in, where if it's not this, then it has to be that, and there is no in-between, and there is no reasonable in-between. It's either total success or utter disaster. We knew PAF would get things wrong, and it's not so much about one things aren't got right. It's about how quickly do you act when you realise it's going wrong, and what do you do to put it right. And they certainly seem quick to act in that respect. Where we're at with PSR, we really don't know. Yes, I think we will be in a position to take advantage of teams who get desperate towards June the 30th. We've been, it would appear, in that position, so we know it quite well. Is it the reason we're not doing any deals? Well, certainly in July, in that new accounting period, there's something like 72 million worth of losses disappear off. But you could still be doing the deals now with a view to signing officially down the line. The trouble is, if you do that, it'll get out, you would have thought. And certainly it would appear that they're locking things down very, very well, which is total contrast to how the club used to be. You know, and so I think we really genuinely just need to be patient. I know it's easy to say, it's hard to do, and let them get on with their jobs. Let them get it done. I also see a little re-emergence this week of people who were perhaps politically conflicted by PIF coming in as owners, starting to make a little bit mischief again against them and stir certain parts of the fan base up again. Certain people who were the first to give the No Saudi group of one his first platform to make his mouth go, for example. And I think that's poor form. However, we kind of predicted it months ago, didn't we? Certainly internally between ourselves, we knew what was coming if certain things didn't work out. I think we can't sit and say that we know anything, but nobody can. It's quite clear when you've got two journalists reporting effectively diametrically opposite kind of things from the same set of information, seemingly. I find that quite fascinating. And I do come back to, I don't wonder if there's a degree of deliberate misinformation now, a little bit of playing the press off each other to let we just get on in the background and do what we're doing. I've postulated on this before, never really had a comfortable yes or no answer. But when you've got two, main journalists for Newcastle United who constantly seem to be writing pieces that are mirror images, well, not mirror images rather, but 180 degrees from each other, it makes you wonder, either are the sources wrong, or the sources plants to see who says what. Fascinating. And I think as a fan base, we've got to genuinely just try and shut it all out and not be dragged into the games.
Good advice, Mitch, as always. Steve, your thoughts on that and what Mitch has said?
That's an interesting one that you say, Mitch, because getting dragged into the game, it also gives you the impression perhaps that sometimes journalists in the Northeast have been very, very good at getting information, getting stories out there that have proved to be fact a couple of weeks later, getting stuff out early. And you could turn around and say, you know what, with a new emphasis within the club, perhaps somebody's feeding them something just to take their legs from under them a little bit, just to make their credibility within the confines of us guys who read and study every single word that comes out about Newcastle, to be able to turn around and go, you know what, he's not as good as he says, or etc. Or whether it's done deliberately by another newspaper to have a swipe at a particular competitor. All very interesting, all very Machiavellian, isn't it? And it just adds to the whole sort of pre-season window of diatribe that spills around football in general and Newcastle United in particular. It keeps us entertained. Stefan Borson's an interesting one. I think he's been running on rumours rather than fact for the last 6 months because he's ran out of fact. He's said everything that he's possibly been able to say, and now he's being churned out on various media channels. One in particular, sometimes twice a week, and he's just rinsing and repeating, and it's getting to the point where
he's had genuine numbers to work with for a long time,
Yeah.
but now I think he's relying more on his own numbers
Exactly.
for a lot of things, and there's a lot of assumptions in there,
Yeah.
and some of those assumptions are clearly wrong.
Yeah,
particularly about other clubs.
Yeah.
And when he starts his whataboutery, he makes less of a compelling argument now because it just feels less factual.
Exactly. And also, don't forget, he was an employee of Manchester City for quite a long time as well. So he's not just a fan. In terms of Eddie, and in terms of the whole transfer targets and such like, and who we're picking up on, I think we'll have to go back to when Eddie first spoke and the sort of the very end of the season just after the last game. Paul Mitchell was still in situ. Paul Mitchell was still there, and Eddie's speaking from the perspective of Paul Mitchell running the transfer activity and leading it all, and from the conversations he's had with him, etc., etc. And then all of a sudden, the carpet's pulled from under Paul Mitchell's feet somewhat, and from under Eddie's, I suppose, in a little bit in terms of shock and awe. The following Monday, when Mitchell was announced that he was leaving, I doubt very much Eddie knew that he was leaving, because the way that he was talking was very much right up until that particular point. We're a team, we're working, you know, we've got a network in place, etc., etc. So by Mitchell announcing his departure when he did, and then nothing happening in terms of transfer, that could be one of a number of reasons. And we could play like Stefan Borson now, couldn't we? And we could say perhaps it's because emphasis has changed on some of the targets. Perhaps some of the people that Mitchell was suggesting that were best for the club, and other people felt within the club were not necessarily the main targets they should be going for. Now there's been a repositioning. It could well be something as simple as that. It could well be that Mitchell wanted players, a particular set of players, and the powers that be now feel as though maybe that's not the right direction to go. Lots of things that we could be Stefan Borshnish about and make our own assumptions. The only thing that Eddie did say that surprised me was that he wanted to have his business done early. Now, immediately again, the press jumped on that and thought we're going to get this done before the first transfer window is out of the way, and that sort of mini window, and we didn't. And now we're waiting. The window's open until September, but the key date is the beginning of July. And as you say, the £70-odd million that drops off the bottom end of our accounts makes PSR that much more easier to manage, and it gives us a lot more scope than we would have if we were picking somebody up in the earlier window or in the early stages of this window. So we shouldn't be too worried. Other clubs will be in exactly the same situation, and I think once this window starts to move, I think it'll not be unlike other windows where it's been a struggle, and where very little business has been done. This seems to be the window where there's going to be a hell of a lot of business done right across the Premier League and the Championship. And I think there's going to be an influx as well of players coming in from Europe as well. Not yet £20 million players as well. There's going to be a lot of the 40, 50, 60 and £80 million deals, I think. And I think it's going to surprise an awful lot of people, the amount of money that clubs suddenly throw at it. You just have to look at what Liverpool are throwing around, what Man United are throwing around, and what Arsenal are alleging that they're going to be throwing around. And obviously, that one particular team in West London who seems to have money to burn, and you wonder where it's coming from in Chelsea. So it's going to be a fascinating window, and we'll be in there. Don't worry about it. We shouldn't panic. But I think it's probably going to be one of our most important windows, because we need players with Champions League experience. Because I think the way that the whole Champions League is set up now, you've got to do what Aston Villa did and get to at least the quarter-final stage, make an awful lot of money that makes your following window that much easier as well.
George, thoughts?
A lot of thoughts, some of which aren't repeatable. they're one of the most disappointing things in modern day football and modern day life. To me, is the way in which the what used to be a noble profession of journalism has suddenly turned into something totally different. You just have to look at the way in which they're currently now lying through their teeth about what's happening in the Middle East and all that sort of thing. And the same thing's happening in football. The guy that you're talking about, Borston or whatever his name is, from Manchester City, that last twice I've seen him on TV, he said two things that were totally diametric, totally opposite of one another. And then it made me think: is he being the Trojan horse? Is he hiding the elephant in the room? That he actually knows that sooner or later, and probably sooner, Manchester City are going to explode the Premier League with another fight back of some sort. Because it was strange him coming out with things that were totally different. But in generally terms of how it affects us, with Neil's early statement, there's a bit of me wants Piff to stand up on the top of St James's and say, "Watch out, Premier League, here we come." But they're not like that, and again, the geopolitical thing about having to go at Saudi Arabia again and dragging all that up is a nonsense in the current world situation. How dare anybody in this country preach about the morals of anybody anywhere after what's going on with us at the moment? So, all of that's just ridiculous, to be perfectly honest. And in terms of where we are, well, where we are because Eddie Howe's in charge now. And what I want is another window like the one that we had a couple of years ago, where I was seeing players signing and looking as hard as I could on the internet to say, who? Bruno who? Isak who? That's what I want. And if the result is similar to what we've got at the present, I'll be a happy man. I also have this, as you probably have gathered before, I also still have this sort of fairy tale notion that has been done with Will Asula, what he did with Lewis Hall, keeping him quiet and then suddenly unleashing him. I still think that's a huge possibility. So it's depressing. It's depressing in some ways because it's being said, but I'm rejoicing in it because we're winners. And that's why they're talking about it, because they don't want us to be winners. Well, let's show them that we are. Let's keep going and just back what Eddie brings in. And I'm convinced we'll get some surprises, and probably people we don't know. Now, what I don't want us giving people like the idiots at Crystal Palace ammunition. If there was a thing that chewed me off about the Mitchell situation, was last summer with Gehi, the way Palace were allowed to run free and really make us look like silly so-and-sos. Don't want that at any price, and I don't think Eddie Howe would let it happen. So it is disappointing, but we're only there because we're at the top, and that's something we've got to live with, unfortunately, or fortunately, I should say.
Excellent point, George. Excellent point.
Yeah, good stuff. Half an hour to go on the show. Still got quite a bit to cram in. Before I bring Rob in to do his album review, can I just point out that our new fanzine for next season, the subscription link is now in the chat. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed early. I'll give you a bit of a name check. I think I did that last year, because all the proceeds for this, once again, are going to go to Age UK, North Tyneside Dementia. Of course, we went to Dementia Matters last year. They don't exist anymore, but Age UK, North Tyneside, that is who we are raising money for. We hit the £1,000 mark collectively as a podcast this week, with donations from the various things that we do. but we've got a lot more to give to them over the course of the next couple of months with 2 big events coming up, of course. But Chris Marshall, Carmel Shaw, Alan Story, James Wilson, Gary Laverty, Andrew Malloy, Richard Rafferty, William King, Tom Richardson, George Hayes, Andy Batten, Gary Dunn, Sean Quinn, Donald Baines, Paul Mood, Andrew Gould, Stephen Williamson, John Richardson, Roger Lawrence, Andrew Gwynn, Antonio Smith and Philip Scott. 22 fanzines ordered. We will be doing a limited edition of 200 once again. So we've got 178 subscriptions left. If you want one, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk, just click the link on there and subscribe. Your issue 4 from this season, thank God he's changed Dan Byrne, is on its way from the printers very shortly. All the envelopes have been written out by me over the last couple of days, and the correct postage will be put on by the post office, I've been assured. So yes, your final one from this season will be going in the post. Some cracking articles in there, by the way, by Mitch. Mitch has done a couple, Stu's done one, Steve, George, and I've chipped in with one as well as a few of our other regular contributors as well. Jeff Carter makes his fanzine debut as well, which is fantastic. So thank you to everybody who's put that in. Don't forget as well, the end of season due is 6 days' time. Steve Hasty will be running it. I will be there probably towards the end. Steve Hasty's going to be there, so get yourself along. And Mitch will be making an appearance as well. Again, all of that is in proceeds for the dementia charity at Age UK. And Rob Maltman, our designer, has organised something quite special. Okay, it's not the real one, but he has got a replica of the Carabao Cup. He's going to bring that along, and he's going to bring an honesty bucket for the charity. And anybody who wants a photograph with a League Cup replica on the night as well can do that and just donate a little bit of money to the charity. So bring a few coins is what I'm saying. Bring a few coins along on the night or some notes and chuck them in the bucket, and Rob will be doing that on the night time. There will be some merchandise there to buy as well, courtesy of Danny Mitchell. So should be a cracking night. Everybody's looking forward to it. And the running order, the lads will be on probably around about the 9 o'clock, 9:15 mark, and doing an hour's chat with Gibbo. So there'll be plenty of time to get your photographs with the lads, etc. But looking forward to seeing you there. Steve and Mitch will be in attendance, and George as well, I'm sure. So get yourself along to the Irish Centre next Friday. There's limited tickets available on the website, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. Okay, I did say we have Rob in the wings. We'll bring him in. Good evening, Rob. How are you, mate?
Good evening. I'm very good. How are you all?
All good, mate. All good. And he said, Rob dared me to put this on the screen. Lim Joey, I'll Shit on Your Floor is the album that he won't be reviewing tonight. And it is a real album. It's banned vinyl.
Yes, yeah. Real album, yes. An official release, pardon the expression. Yeah.
I might stick that on my album list to listen to anyway. But moving swiftly on, Rob, what are you bringing us today?
Well, it's absolutely without shadow of a doubt the best produced album I have on vinyl, which is it's Brothers Man's production. Unbelievable. So it's 17th of May 1985. The cover is obviously it's Mark Knopfler's 14-fret resonator guitar. They only produced them from 1938 to 1941, so it's mega rare. So yeah, I'm just going to skim through a few of the songs because I'm not going to deep dive until Talk of the Town is back. So it opens with So Far Away, stunning opener. The production, as I say, it's unbelievable. I remember letting Rachel hear it. Just stand in the middle of my living room and listen to this. The openness, the warmth, unbelievable. Really nice open guitar riffs, opening it up, nice solid flat 4 drumming. It's really moody, but it's nice, like really nice backing harmonies on this. Nice slide guitar, nice, accents from Mark as well, which is a staple sound. Absolutely beautiful opener. It's 10 out of 10. You got Money for Nothing. Obviously, Sting with this one on backing vocals opens up. It's This was massive on MTV. I like the drum build up. It's like Animal from the Muppets. Here's some sticks, do what you can, smash and grab, and then straight into Mark's guitar, lead role again. Story behind it is actually when Dire Straits were touring America, there was a couple of roadies or security guards sitting in this office, sitting with their feet up on the desk, complaining about this, complaining about that, wanting the chicks for free because they were working with bands and stuff like that, and I want my MTV because they're just lounging about in a room like a janitor, at school with nothing much to do. So that's where the song came from. They've got another one, The Latest Trick, Your Latest Trick. Stunning, absolutely stunning. Nice saxophone opener on this one. For me, this is the best song on the album. It's just unbelievable. Just nice, like rim shot drumming on this. Really warm, deep keyboard sound on this one. Again, Mark's texture and guitar parts and vocals are absolutely outstanding. For me, this is a song on the album that gives me goosebumps. It's perfection. Then you've got Why Worry. I just handpicked a few songs, but it's good. It's got quite a lullaby feeling to this. You could put this on above a baby's cot in the carousel and just wind this song up and just play it. You'll just drift off to sleep. It's just a song about life. Again, lovely, nice keyboards on this one. It gives it quite a bit of a prog feel, which I don't associate Dire Straits with at all, but it's got that sort of feel about it. Again, Mark's guitar runs are outstanding on this one. They've got Ride Across the River. Again, I have to listen to this one. It's like 7 minutes. It's strange. It's very tribal, sort of like an African sound. It would fit well on Paul Simon's Graceland album. Also, it could have been on Sting's Dream of the Blue Turtles album, which Steve, I recommend you listen to. Dream of the Blue Turtles by Sting. It's his debut album. Great album. Great ambience for this song. It's nice saxophone again, nice parts. It's nothing's overdone on this album. It's just subtle, but it's full. It's open. It's got like a bit of dub feel as well, and a little bit of reggae as well on this one. Then my last song I've picked is Brothers in Arms. You Don't Have a Heart. If you listen to the song and you're not touched by this, it's a song about the Falklands. Very emotional, very powerful. Just it blows you away. It's sort of like war sound at the beginning. It just sort of like rings out, and then Mark just brings in his Ebo, he's and then his slide effects. And you just sit back and listen to this heartfelt, emotional, epic work of art. That's as simple as that. But this is my original copy, which I did buy because I remember, I think it was in this month I came back to watch Live Aid. The same month, the same year. The guitar there, a lot of people say, what's this? It's actually called an F-hole on there. You get violins. F-hole, I learnt that from Mr. Chris Difford from Squeeze, a song called F-hole, and I've done my research. That's what it's called. But yeah, and obviously, Steve Hasty, to me, this was where Stadium Rock started. The bands like Simple Minds and U2, which I will admit, U2 smashed it with the stadium tours ahead of Simple Minds on this one. But yeah, I can't big this album up enough, but it's a stunning piece of work. The best produced album I have in my whole collection.
Fantastic.
Honestly, really is.
And I think there was some kind of stat where at one point 1 in every 2 households had that album. So it was one of the biggest sellers as well. But great stuff, Rob.
Released.
Yeah, fantastic.
It's just been re-released 40 years the last couple of weeks ago. But and I will be there next Friday as well.
Great. 40 years for that, 50 years for Jaws. We're all feeling old tonight, I think, after all these anniversaries. But Rob will be at the end of season 2 as well. Yes, so make sure you go over and say hello to him if you're going on Friday night. Take care, Rob. See you soon, mate. Take care.
Thank you, gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Cheers, Rob.
Great stuff. That's your musical interlude for this week. Denise says, thank you so much, Rob. You've chosen such a class album, which we all clearly love. Mark says, absolutely quality album. Mozza's still got the vinyl and cassette for the car. Christ, you've still got a cassette player in the car. But gone down well, that one. So thank you, Rob, for that. Okay, we have talked transfers. Lots of people asking about transfers. Unfortunately, it's that summer season. That's what we end up with. Marky wants to change it slightly. He says other podcasts pointed out that Newcastle can't compete with other clubs on facilities and amenities. Why 3 years later is this still an issue? Do you think Why have the Saudis not levelled the playing field yet, Mitch? You're on mute again. You're on mute.
How much have they invested in upgrading the current training facilities already?
They have upgraded, haven't they? Yeah, they've upgraded the training
You're
facilities.
ignoring all of that. Let's just ignore that, shall we? And stress over something that we've got no control of and what other podcasters are saying. Well, you know what? Good God. Can't compete with other clubs on facilities.
Christ, they should have come to Benwell.
I just... Why haven't they levelled the playing field? Why haven't they done that? Why haven't they done this? Can you all remember the ghost ship that Ashley left behind?
Yeah.
We still have fewer people in our commercial department than Sunderland have, for God's sakes. We were a skeleton ship and we were underinvested massively. Do you see the paddling pools and the wheelie bins outside the training ground full of ice anymore, do you? They've done nothing, have they? Nah, I'm not having it. I'm sorry, this is more... let's be controversial for controversial sakes and get clicks and likes and get nominated for awards and this, that and the other, and let's get outrageous. Let's get outrageous and criticise the club and pull down their strips and get outrageous about the cost of strips, whilst you also took money to advertise Saudi Arabia and tell people to go to Riyadh on holiday. Bullshit. Really. Have a spine and report it properly and do the right thing, which is we need to support our club in every way, shape and form possible. And that doesn't mean you can't be critical of it. Good God, I'm critical of enough things as it is. But to then start to add melodrama on top and frankly just make things up because it does great business for clicks and likes and attraction on social media. Is it clout, they call it these days? That's probably an old term already. There's probably somebody else for it now. Can't be arsed with it.
Okay, that's some straight talking as usual from Mitch. Steve?
Wings, rooftops, barracks, Park Grill, Club St James's, the Entertainers Suite. There's 6 areas of the club that have come out in terms of being able to develop corporate side. One thing I would say is that we're limited because the more corporate you put in, the less seats there will be for your standard fan. So yes, there's a limit in terms of how much you can squeeze into a pint pot. And at the moment, 52,283 or whatever it is our pint pot. But they're doing their best in terms of those. In terms of revenue, the rooftops, let's give that an example. The rooftops by Phoenix, it costs you £17,500 for a table of 4 per game. That's not bad going, is it? £3,500 a seat. You want to take a ticket for that? Dear me, it's phenomenal the way that they're pushing that aspect of the club. The barracks and Park Grill, I think you're talking £250 a ticket to watch a game. So they are looking at that corporate side, but there's that happy balance that they've got to make. There are areas within, yes, we could turn around and say could and should be better. But let's take everything on face value. There were times when Ashley was giving tickets away and some people were exploiting it and grabbing a ticket for their mates and have now making hay while the sun shines on that one. In terms of wondering how people are getting in. The stack. Look at the investment that's been made in the stack. It's just been given another 5-year extension on its planning permission in terms of how long it can remain as a temporary facility. I wouldn't be surprised.
That gets turned into a negative. That means we're not getting a new ground, Steve.
Oh, yes, of course. It means we're not getting a new ground. We're not getting this. We're not getting that. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the stack extend, actually, now that they completed the waterproofing on the top of the metro station. I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up with an extension at some point in time, bringing the stack forward and having an entry on St James's side, on the Strawberry Place side as well. There's plenty more that can do. The stack's full every game. It's full like nearly every night as well. It's doing really well in terms of the entertainment it puts on. It's given opportunities for bands and local acts and singers to get up and perform. So you can't knock it that way. I was one of its critics when it first opened, simply because I didn't get it, because I'm used to the kind of fan zone that you see in Germany, and it was nothing like that. Whenever I've gone to Germany, I've been impressed with their fan zones, but I can't knock what Newcastle United have done in terms of the stack. So I think there's an awful lot going on, but I think the big changes that are to come, we've got to be a bit patient. I think there's probably an awful lot going on behind the scenes in terms of exactly where our new ground will be, when it's going to materialise. These things don't happen overnight. So,
do you know, if we've got a player who's swayed more by a fancy training facility and can't see the vision of the project at Newcastle United and see the trajectory it's on as a club and see the backing and the people behind it, and he'd rather go to a training facility where he can sit down and have a nice lunch and somebody wipes his arse for him when he goes to the toilet. I don't know if I want a player like that.
Exactly. And let's face it, at the end of the day, we talk about footballers, but the only thing that matters in a footballer's mind, or 99% of it, is how much he's getting paid at the end of the month. What's his pay packet like? So all this business of a training ground and what it looks like and how fantastic the facilities are, as long as they're being fed and watered, they're usually happy.
George?
Oh, I'm back to the end of my last answer. We're at the top. Somebody are looking to dig it with, man. It's as simple as that for me. Anybody who watches those videos from the newly developed training ground that we've got can only see happy faces and see all the amazing things that they do. And to add grist to the mill, they get their lunches served by a Michelin-starred bloody chef to make sure they're getting the right diet and getting the right food and not feasting on bloody burgers and all the rest of it that they might have been doing with some of the previous managers we've had. So it's people looking to have a dig, and that's while that's sad, we've got to rise above it and just remind them who we are. When Newcastle United, and we're on and up, and we're gonna knock spots off you all again next year. So suck it in, just get used to it. That's where we are. And they're going on about all the lads have said about all the developments that they are. If it's so bad here, look what happened when the Magic weekend, the rugby league people even hinted that they might go somewhere else in another year. There was a riot in Lancashire and Yorkshire to come to St James's Park every year. They don't want to go anywhere else. So if it's that bad, you tell other sports fans. You tell the boss of the New Zealand Rugby League squad that the Cathedral on the Hill is not the best place he's ever been to. It's still there. And Steve's right. A lot of the things that they're talking about are a natural growth with the new stadium. And the more I think about the new stadium, my mind's changing. We're discussing between ourselves and with our fellow fans about how big should it be, how many supporters and all the rest of it. Well, I've got news, lads. The blokes in Saudi Arabia who are paying for it might have an idea that they want 80,000 plus for a stadium, not what we want, what they want, because they're used to being the best. And that's what they'll have. They'll have the best. And they're also very loyal in whatever they do. And certainly in my business, there have always been people who are a pleasure to work with. So, yeah, I just go back to my last answer. We're at the top and people are going to have a go. So find another one. Move on from this one.
Yeah. Okay, a couple of little things to squeeze in before we finish. I feel panic in Steve's through Steve, but it's not Steve, it's Stu. This one was from Jeff Carter, Stu Penman, and the Toby joke. Thank you for that, Jeff. And spotted at the end of season, Andy Cole's fallen on hard times, lads. He's now a steward at Man City. Thank you for that. We don't do lookalikes on this show, but some things are just too good to ignore. So I will encourage you sending them, just no doubt. And finally, a little bit of Elliot. Now, 3 weeks ago, I sent my hearing aid in for repair. I've heard nothing since.
Oh,
Yeah.
Cheers, Elliot.
yeah.
Thank you to Denise Applewhite, Robert Spires, and Joe Fernandez, who just all ordered the new fanzine for next season. 4 issues for £25. We've knocked £2.50 off after the post office postage faux pas for issue 3. Those of you who are missing issue 3, I think it's 2 or 3 of you, will send them with your issue 4, which will be posted very, very soon. And the £25 for your subscription, of course, includes your postage. So no extra charges will be incurred when you pay via the website nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. So it's still good value. And as I say, issue 4 will be on your way very soon. Last chance as well to get your end of season due tickets. Make sure you get them. All proceeds going to Dementia. And Rob Maltman is bringing along the League Cup replica for you to get a selfie with it as well. So have a good weekend. Me, Mitch and Stu will be back with the professionals tomorrow, and there will be a fans forum live on Monday night as well. So yeah, UFC Matters week is getting off to a good start. Take care, lads.
Cheers, everyone.
Everybody, take care.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them at www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickies.co.uk, email info@mrvickies.co.uk, or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2 crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. Hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach, all excursions included. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460 or 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And if you like listening to us as a podcast, you can go to Sports Social Podcast Network or to iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. If you want to support the show, then hit the subscribe button. It's free. We do 7 shows a week. Hit the little thumb up under the video, which is the like button, or click share to share to your social media. You can also join the channel on YouTube by hitting the join button for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become an NUFC Matters member, you can go to nufcmatters.co.uk. It's a £25 one-off fee. You get your pen, you get your badge, a key ring, you get your beer mat and your fridge magnet and your membership card, nufcmatters.co.uk for that. And we have an event early next year, 13th of February 2026, an evening with Beardsley, Waddle and Gascoigne takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. To buy your tickets for that event, go to the box office 0191 243 1171 or Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk.